Today I'm going to be taking you through a full day in my diet on this glorious Monday morning as the clocks have gone forward, and it's currently 5:43 a.m. So exactly what I eat to get lean over the next 12 weeks. And you may be thinking that I'm going to be really strict and I'm going to be someone who eats the same boring bland foods, and for the most part you're going to be sort of right. Maybe about 90% strict. I am going to follow a 3-step process which I'm going to outlay across this video, which are pretty much imperative every time I want to actually get lean, and I recommend you do the same. So if you don't follow these 3 steps, I can almost guarantee that you will struggle to actually get lean and get into the shape that you want to be in, because over the last 11 years of personal training and over 8,500 one-to-one sessions, as long with over 14 years of training myself in the gym, there are a few key elements when it comes to the nutrition which people slip up on, and usually that's why people come to me and they're struggling to lose that last little bit of body fat, or they're struggling to lose fat at all. But usually it's one of these 3 things, and I'm going to tell you what those are and how to go about them throughout this video. Also, I'm going to update you on something which has been really useful over the last few weeks for me, which I've been testing out, and I'm going to offer everyone else for free. And if you've already seen the link in the description, you might already know what it is, but I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to show you how it's going to actually help you. Because I was offering a 7-day free program before, but I feel like 7 days is great, but it's not something, which is that useful, because it's only 1 week, and something which is a bit longer where you can actually track your lifts, it's always going to be a lot more useful. I'm going to take you through my workouts and how they're looking at the minute. So we're starting off with bench press in today's workout. This is my early Monday morning workout. As you can see here, there's a little bit of funny business going on with the blue spongy pad, and there's a very good reason for that. So the reason I'm doing it is so that the bar isn't going all the way down to the chest, and the reason I'm not doing that is because of my shoulder. As soon as I get almost like I'm past the body with my elbows, that's when it starts playing up. So I use the blue spongy pad so that I don't get full depth. Otherwise, I'd always recommend getting full depth. Next exercise was prone rows. As you can see here, am I a lover of these? Not really. I'm not very strong at them. Back is one of my weaker areas, which I'm trying to bring up. These are really good for isolating that mid-back, rhomboids, lats, bit of the traps as well. Focus on pulling the dumbbells back to the pocket. Next exercise were probably my favourite shoulder exercise, which is a seated lateral seated lateral raise. I'm not that raging. Seated lateral raise. As you can see here, I'm focused on getting a full stretch at the bottom, so I'm bringing it all the way down to my pocket, and I'm actually raising just above my shoulders. A lot of people seem to stop just before shoulder height, but you're not getting a full range. Another way you can do this is literal full ROM, they're called, full range of motion, where you come all the way above the head and touch the dumbbells at the top, but I wasn't doing that today. I was actually doing high reps, so around 3 sets of 20 reps. Again, because my shoulder's been playing up, I'm not going too heavy and going for, say, 8 to 12, keeping it a little bit lighter, 7.5s, going more for reps. And as you can see, a little bit of a pump. I didn't record all the exercises today because I couldn't get them in. It is now 9:20 in the morning. Went in the gym, did a full body session, trained 2 clients, and now I'm back home. One thing I've found is that the best and easiest and most convenient thing to do when you're trying to actually stick to a nutritional plan is just to have the same meal all the time. So I'll have these protein oats pretty much every single day. When I'm in a gaining phase, if I want to actually put on a bit of weight, build some muscle, then I'll have 90 grams of oats. At the minute, I'll have 70 grams of oats. In this whole breakfast, I'll put it on the screen, but there's around 550 to 600 calories. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with a lot of people and a lot of clients I've seen over the years, is that they struggle to actually stick to something because they find tracking too annoying, they find it too time consuming, they find it something which they don't want to do long term. For example, when I first started tracking 11, 12 years ago, I used to think, I cannot be bothered going on my phone, scanning the food, scanning the barcode, entering it in on MyFitnessPal. It's just too time consuming. I'm not going to stick to it, so I'm just going to eyeball it. And the problem with that, and what I found, is that I was way off with my calories. And then you think you're consuming, say, 2,500, but in reality, you're actually consuming more towards 3,000. And if you think you're in deficit, but you're actually at maintenance or even a slight surplus, that is going to make a massive difference to your overall outcome. So one of my biggest tips is if you're wanting to make things easier, and I'm assuming you do, have the same meals for at least one or preferably two meals you're having each day. So for example, I have the same breakfast each day. I often mix up lunch, but then dinner is always different. But again, you still need to track your calories. And that is the first step of the 3 steps which I mentioned, which are imperative to do if you want to get lean. And we are going to talk about that later in the video. But first, I'm going to have my oats, start work, and I'm also going to show you the completely free Soft to Lean 4-week training program. Fucking ketchup on eggs, what are you playing at? I don't care. So the second point of the 3 steps which I'm talking about essentially comes down to when people tell me they've been tracking, but they still don't bloody see results. And a lot of the time I find out that there's one key reason for that. And a lot of clients, for example, come to me over the years and have said, look, I've tried tracking for a few days. I don't like it for one, it takes up too much time, but even when I have done it, I haven't dropped any weight. So then what I usually do is I get them to get the MyFitnessPal up, I get them to show me the diary, have a look through the diary, and then what I find most of the time is that yes, they've tracked the calories for the most part, or they've logged every single bit of the food, but when I look at the actual portion sizes, they're not really making sense. And I'll usually say to them, have you actually tried weighing your food? And they usually just say, well, no, I can't be asked to do that. Why would I want to do that? It'll just take far too much time. That's too obsessive. I don't want to be doing stuff like that. And I'll be like, right, okay. Well, when we look at the scales, we're noticing that you're actually not dropping weight and you're not dropping body fat either. So why don't we start weighing what you're actually eating? For example, if you're having pasta or rice or potatoes, you can eyeball it all you want, but this could be the difference between 200 to 300 calories. And if that's happening every single day across the week, that could be nearly 1,000 calories. And that's just on those foods. If you're not weighing, for example, porridge, if you have oats or granola or any type of cereal or any type of liquids either, this can be massively add up. And that's one thing I've noticed over the last 14 years of me training and on and off tracking calories over the years, is that if I actually want to get serious, I need to weigh everything I'm having. Obviously, if you're having like a slice of bread, you don't really need to weigh that unless you're really going to the absolute fine margins. But anything where you're not too sure on how much you're having, like cereal, rice, pasta, etc., I'd highly recommend weighing it. And this really does make a massive difference. So, just had lunch, just had my scrambled egg on toast, porridge, protein porridge for breakfast. These are my 2 absolute staples. Again, these are the foods I've had for years and I know what's in them. It's convenient and this is a massive hack. So this is tip number 2 was to make sure that you're weighing absolutely everything. Tip number 1 was just to make sure that you're tracking your calories and be aware of the food that you are having in terms of making it as convenient as possible. So number 1, track your calories with make it convenient. Number 2 was to make sure that you're weighing everything. And number 3, the third step, is arguably where most people slip up. And I'm going to delve into that in a few minutes' time. But for now, I've got a bit more work to do this afternoon, and then I'll most likely have a snack around 3 o'clock. I'll show you what that is. It's usually just a higher protein one, and then in the evening, that's usually my main meal. And then, depending on how I feel, depending on where my calories are, that's when I might have another snack afterward. Next meal of the day, well, I'm saying a meal, it's not really a meal. It is 2:40, and we're going for a protein yogurt. These Lindals vanilla, absolutely unbelievable, and they're only 81 calories, 15 grams of protein. You can't really go wrong, can you? Now, usually my afternoons are usually spent in between calls. So for example, that's with client calls, that's programming. Usually I do all my one-to-one face-to-face PT in the morning, and then the afternoons are purely spent online. So I'm gonna put on the screen here exactly how many calories are in this, because I'm gonna have this with something else, but I haven't decided yet. And then I'm gonna go on and tell you exactly what I do to make sure that I can get in the best shape possible without being a boring bastard. So I decided to add some of these. These are low-fat red fruit special flakes. And they're absolutely fuck all calories. Get the fibre in, got some protein in, we're good to go. So one of the biggest things I've noticed over the last 11 years of coaching people is that people don't really know what to follow when they're in the gym. They don't really know how to make sure that they are progressing. A lot of the time people will go to the gym, they're relatively consistent, they might go up 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times per week, and they enjoy it for a few weeks, but then they don't really see the progression in the mirror. I can almost guarantee a lot of people will be able to write their own program if they wanted to. They sort of know the rough guidelines of what to follow. They know they need to lift more. They know that they need to mix it up every now and again. And they know roughly what movements to do for each muscle group. But the main thing what I've noticed is there's no specific structure to follow to actually make sure that they're applying progressive overload. So that is exactly why I've created the Softer Lean 4-week training program. As I mentioned in the last clip, it's completely free. It's going to be linked in the description, and I'm going to show you exactly what it entails right now. So as you can see here, this is the how to use start page. So when you first download it, you'll get the outline of exactly what to do, how to use the program here, the rest and recovery in between sets, nutrition guideline, and of course, if you want to contact me at the bottom. So it gives all of that, and then we've got the tabs along the bottom here. So week 1, again, this is the type of tracker I use with all my online clients as well. It's really simple, really easy to follow. You don't need any bullshit app or anything too expensive. Google Sheets does the job. So as you can see, week 1 here, this is where we've got our workouts, full body. It shows you exactly what to do, sets, reps, and a place to actually record what weight you're using and what reps you managed to get on that particular exercise. And then we've got workout 2, workout 3 here. So this will be week 1. Then obviously we've got week 2, week 3, and then on week 3 we've got an extra set thrown in. So I'm showing you exactly how to actually apply that progressive overload so that you're tracking each lift each week, so that by week 4 as well, the weights or the reps should have moved quite a bit from the first week. In other words, applying progressive overload. And then at the end, we've got a progress tracker, and I'll get you to write down your weight on each specific big movement. And not all exercises are on here, like for example, arms, it's not as much of a big deal, but for the main ones, for example, bench, shoulder presses, lat pull down, seated rows, leg presses, you can enter the heaviest weight you did from week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then it'll show the trend as well at the end. This is the exact type of training program I'll use with all my online clients. So if you head to the link in the description, again, it's completely free and you can download it and you can actually see some gains for once. Okay, so I've got sweet potatoes, and this is exactly how I know how accurate I'm going to be. I'm going to weigh them, and I could just say, oh, I know I'm having 1 potato, so I could just put that in MyFitnessPal. But if you want to be accurate, then you need to get them on the scales. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to slam them all in there. No pissing about. So that, at the minute, is just under 500 grams. So yeah, 492 grams. I'm probably going to have about just under half of this. So obviously I'll see what it's like once I've cooked them. But what I'll do on MyFitnessPal is I'll most likely put in that I'm having around 200 grams. So yeah, it's just under half, give or take. And then I know exactly where I am. And obviously once it's cooked, I'll measure out just under half. And then I know I'm roughly there. But what I need to do, which is most important, is we are going to salt and pepper these. But more importantly, we're going to put oil on. And we need to track our fucking oil, because that is one of the biggest things I've noticed with people over the years as to what they're not tracking, and it adds loads of bloody calories. Zero, you fucker. There you go. Okay, so that is 13 grams. Put some salt in, some pepper. Okay, so that's the sweet potato there. I'm looking at around just over 200 grams. I'm going to put that in the air fryer, put the salmon in the oven, and then we've got some veg as well. So salmon fillets. Obviously that's mostly fat. I'm probably looking at, I'll have to work this out, but give or take around 600 to 700 calories here. Okay, you going on, Mike? We've got our salmon, sweet potatoes ready. And we only just got an air fryer, maybe beginning of the year, so about 3-4 months ago. And when we first got it, we were using it all the time. Like I think we used it nearly every day for a week. But now it's been a few months. We still do use it sometimes. We found there's certain meals, for example, when we do normal chips, they just don't taste the same as when you do it in the oven. They just taste a little bit, I can't even describe it, there's just something not right. But we seem to have mastered sweet potato fries. Sweet potato fries seem to do much better in the air fryer compared to the normal chips. Yeah, these are loving fucking belter. Loving sweet potato fries at the minute. And they're a really good carb source to have if you're trying to keep your calories down a little bit, because you can have a decent amount of sweet potato fries and not actually have that many calories. And they keep you full for quite a while, which is great. And there you have it, the final meal. Sweet potato, salmon, garden peas. Really simple, really fucking easy. So this is the last meal of the day, although I've just checked my calories. I think I'm still under 2,000 and I don't want to lose all my gains, so I'm probably going to be having a little snack after this just to make up some protein. I'm looking to have it more towards the 2,400 to 2,500 mark, give or take. So I might have a little bit more Greek yogurt, a bit of fruit, but I'll update you on that. But the third point, which I really want to make, of the 3 steps which are imperative if you want to actually lose some fat and stop pissing around and do it properly, is to stay consistent for a certain period of time. Track for say 4 to 6 weeks, everything, as I said before, weighing everything out, have convenience so that you can make it easier for yourself, but make sure you do it for longer than just 3 days. Because what I find with most people, and what I found with myself, is that you do it for a few days and you think, oh, yep, you're on it. But in reality, a few weeks go by and things start creeping in which you haven't accounted for because you're not aware, because you're not tracking anymore. So do it for at least 4 to 6 weeks, track everything. Make sure that you actually see the scales going down if that is the metric which you're going for in terms of progress. And those 3 steps are almost guaranteeing that you actually drop some body fat and get into the shape that you want to. Right, I'm going to stop talking because I really want to fucking eat because I'm hungry. So I may have to check in again of another thing which I'm adding to the diary. But until then, I'm going to eat this. A little bit poverty, but this is what I'm finishing the day on. Biscoff and some Greek yogurt, and I've had a few grapes as well. So that ends the day. I think it's around 2,200 calories, which I'm actually quite surprised at. I thought with that amount of food which I've had today, I would have thought it was more towards 2,500, 2,600, but happy with that. I don't really feel like I need to eat loads more food. 2,200, I haven't done loads of activity today. I mean, I have done 8,000 steps. I've trained, obviously, as you would have seen in the earlier clip, I was at work this morning. Any questions, drop me a message. Or if you want a completely free 4-week soft to lean program, linked in the description, head there and let me know how you get on.